Well, I'm home. Yes, I'm home. You guys may not have known it, but I was in Texas visiting my mom and dad with my whole family, my wife and my 2 kids for the past 8 days. Today marks the first day back in the house. I got back in last night and I wanted to make a video this morning. And it's, I've been up since, like 4 because they're a couple hours ahead there in Texas and I live in California. But I wanted to get in here and make a video. See, last night when I got home, I didn't get home terribly late. We got in about 6, and then we went and got some In-N-Out. My daughter and I went and ate at In-N-Out, and my wife stayed home with the kid, with my little boy Jack, and then now we're back at it, getting after life today. But when I was at In-N-Out with my daughter, it was just such a special time after spending, a whole week with my parents, which was magical, by the way. My dad and I talked about different Nintendo things, and he said he was very, very touched that Nintendo had such a huge impact in my life and that he was the one who introduced it to me, and I talk about it on a regular basis. But actually, before we get too far into it, today we're doing the Ethiopia. I usually don't like Ethiopias, but this is a washed one, so it's not going to be too whiny. It's the Ethiopia Dorsey by Dune Coffee Roasters out of, where is Dune? Oh, this was roasted on my birthday, January 4th, which was just a couple days ago. But this, where's Dune out of? Santa Barbara, California. There you go, Santa Barbara. So we're going to have that today. And, without further ado, let's grind it up. Yesterday or last night when I got home, before I went to go get In-N-Out, I, did a preliminary walkthrough. Oh man, can we do it second try? Not really. The house. And when I walked through the house, I opened all the doors, everything's looking good. Beautiful neighbors helped us out while we were gone. I opened my office door. And while I opened my office door, I stepped in to this place, which I hadn't seen in 8 days. And I was overjoyed by what I saw. It was exactly what I needed. You don't really know what you have until you step away from it. And the 8-day break where I didn't think about anything but reading Dragon Ball and playing Tears of the Kingdom, which I finished, which was a spectacular game. And I plan on talking about that experience here in just a couple cups. But I walked into this office and I had this burst of a few emotions. One was happiness, like, I'm back at home on my toys, I can see them. But the other that was unexpected was this burst of inspiration by what I saw. And all I wanted to do was get the kids fed and make sure that my wife was taken care of and she had what she needed. And, we did whatever basics we needed to do. We weren't going to unpack last night just because we were so exhausted from the day of traveling, which went really well with 2 kids. But we just wanted to relax, and I couldn't wait to get into my office, turn on whichever. I played a little PlayStation, I played a couple rounds of Halo, I played on my Nintendo Switch, I played every single console I owned in my office because the feeling of being in this space was so unbelievably inspiring, and I was just so excited to be able to play again in this space. Play, right? Exactly what we do here. And it was a special feeling, and it kind of got me, back, ripped and roaring and ready to go when it came to what 2024 has to offer. Again, my birthday was just a couple days ago, and there's 3 dates that I use every year to set goals, reset, and take a break. And, Thanksgiving and the Thanksgiving month is usually my New Year's, where I reset and take some time to think through the past year, be thankful for everything, and really, really enjoy the fruits of my labor, so to speak. And I take that time during that specific week to really enjoy that. And then comes New Year, and New Year is the reset, where I reset some yearly calendar year stuff, like my Bible reading and a couple other things like that. And then there's my birthday, and on my birthday, I usually set goals for what I want to achieve in my year. And so when I was, sitting there and looking through, and obviously a lot of stuff here on YouTube that I want to achieve, I thought a lot about this space, this video game space, and the future of gaming for me and what I want to do now that I looking into PC gaming and doing stuff on the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5 and the Nintendo Switch and new Nintendo stuff coming down the line. And I just got so excited because it was just like, dude, you're about to embark on another year of this beautiful time. And so while I was away from home and just with my parents, I only had one video game system with me. I brought my Switch. I thought I was gonna bring my Steam Deck, but I decided to bring my Switch instead so I could play games with my dad, of which I didn't. And I really wanted to finish Tears of the Kingdom, of which I did. And that was a really special experience. And I really enjoyed that experience, really enjoyed it. And then so there was that. And then I came home and I saw everything and I was like, oh, this is what I do. This is how I, pass time. And there were a few conversations that I had in my Discord with you guys. And if you're not a part of the Discord, please join, because it's a special place where we talk about video games, we support each other, and we have a good time doing that. But the biggest thing that I got to really enjoy were people talked about how video games have become really special to them, or was special to them, or that because of the community that exists, they were reminded about how special video games were. And I, over this past couple of weeks, actually couple of months, just doing this and being more introspective and like trying to look into my enjoyment of all this stuff, which when I look at it, I get this feeling of just like, I just want to like scream. But when I was reading and talking with you guys, we talked about how this pastime is important. And I think that video games as a whole, as we just go through life, if you use video games as, your way to relax, or if it's a hobby to you, it's so unbelievably important. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And that's, what I want to touch base on a little bit is, I feel more and more as I am a parent and I have these little hours here and there to, get work done or just relax, that this becomes not just something that I can say is, oh, this is a fun hobby I do, but it becomes an absolute must participate activity for resetting my, whether it's mental state or resetting my day. And I think that any of you who are playing video games and who have this guilt because of whatever society says, we should address it. First and foremost, I've talked about it in other cups. There's nothing wrong with using video games as a pastime. I don't see anything different between, and I've said this before, and I got it from a buddy of mine. I can't remember who, whether it was, Chase, Tyson, or someone else, but I don't see any difference in someone who decides to spend a lot of time looking through different teams and playing fantasy football, or, getting involved with a basketball team or whatever it may be as a fan. I don't see any difference between that and diving deep into the lore behind, Zelda, or really trying to crank through some of the different Final Fantasies, or getting really good at something like Call of Duty, Fortnite, or Apex. I don't see a difference. Sure, there's hours dedicated, but if we're being honest, the hours dedicated that we see between the two can become unhealthy and very easily. I know people who have gotten crazy with sports where they won't miss any games. They will spend every evening watching games. I had a friend growing up who was such a huge Red Sox fan that he would miss every social event just to watch all games. Like every game. He watched every single game. Forget whether you're a fan or not of that franchise. That's pretty obsessive, right? That's a lot of time dedicated, especially if a game takes, on average, like an hour and a half, 2 hours? I don't know. I haven't watched a full baseball game, and I can't tell you how long. Let's just say it's 90 minutes and you watch every single game. That can get pretty crazy, right? Us as fathers, as husbands, as businessmen, as whatever you want to call yourself, we only have a small amount of time each day to reset, to interact, and gaming as a whole, as what I've seen over the past, few months, especially since I've started doing these cups and gotten a little bit further away from the idea of let's be a reviewer and, more into let's talk as a community, what I've realized is that gaming as a whole is very important. It's not just something you do to, enjoy a game or be a part of some sort of conversation. It's what you do to decompress. It's what you do to feel a sense of achievement when you get, when you whether it's a trophy or whether you defeat a boss or whether you just hit a story beat that's just so powerful to you. I think that there's such a special bond between someone who plays video games and a game itself, as well as the community who plays the games with each other. That's what we do, right? In the Play community, we are people who play video games with each other. We just cranked through Final Fantasy 16. At least some of us did. And the conversations that were being had around that game were so special because I finished that game with my buddy Chase a few months back, and it was such a huge, eye-opening experience. It reminded me that I love story-based RPGs that are really powerful. Some people complain about the combat mechanics in that game. Me, personally, I was so drawn into the story that the combat was something that I enjoyed, but I was just more along for the ride. And so the game itself was powerful, not because the combat was necessarily good, because it did get a little bit repetitive at times, although I didn't mind it. It was so good because the story was so amazing. And I would find myself yearning to experience that story and leave that experience going, oh man, that was insane. Now, it's not a happy story, but still, you're experiencing something very special. And when I walked through my door last night, I was like, this is a magical place that I get to have those experiences. Not only do I get to have those experiences, but I get to encourage them for you guys, and I get to discuss them with you guys too in the community, in the Discord chat, which is huge. I'm so overjoyed that Discord has become so active that I've had to silence my notifications. That's right. I've had to actually silence my notifications because of how many conversations are happening on a regular basis in that Discord. And I needed to step away. And sometimes that's what you need to do. Gamer fatigue is a real thing. We talked about it in the earlier cups. Choice fatigue and the too many choices is a thing. We've talked about that before. Having all these consoles is, not necessarily helpful when it comes to gamer fatigue and, too many choices, right? But stepping away for 8 days, getting it down to just the Nintendo Switch, enjoying that, allowing myself to get focused in, changed my perspective on how I want to approach playing video games as a whole. You see, there are a lot of different ways that you can play video games, right? You can play it on PC, PlayStation, Xbox, you name it. There are so many ways. It's become more accessible to anybody, right? There's such a low barrier of entry. Some of the cheapest systems out there, you play so many great games on them. And that leaves people with a lot of choices. Which one should I get? Should I get the PlayStation 5? Should I get the Xbox Series X? The Series S? It's even cheaper. Should I get a Nintendo Switch at the end of its life cycle? There's just so many questions out there. And I've made videos about it before, and I'll make more videos on it moving forward here and there, but I think the best video game system is the one that you have, right? That's pretty much where I stand on all that. The one you have is the best one you can, because you can play it, and that's really what's important. But where my mind has changed, where my feelings have changed on a lot of this is quite simply because I played one game on vacation. Just one. I only dedicated my time to playing one. I was only going to play one. I wasn't going to play any others, just going to play one. And in playing one, I got to focus. Not only focus, but hyper-focus and get my mind into it. My whole thought process when I went into a gaming session, when I went and picked up my Nintendo Switch, I got to just focus on that. I didn't have to balance, I'm going to play, Tears of the Kingdom. I'm also going to play, Halo. I'm also going to play Lies of P. I'm also going to play RoboCop. I'm also going to play, right? I got to focus and really enjoy that experience. And I think moving into 2024, that is how I plan on playing video games. I'm going to choose one, and I'm going to focus on that one until it is complete, whether I like it or not. And once it's complete, then I can move on to the next one. And I want to challenge you as gamers out there to do the same. I think that this idea of playing 7 games at once is kind of like just use what social media has done to consumption of story, where the story, if it doesn't entice you within moments, you're just going to fall off of it. And so you end up getting these little tidbits. And especially with video games, there's investment that needs to take place. These are longer forms of media, right? Some games are shorter, right? Ratchet and Clank is, I think it's less than 20 hours. Maybe it's just 20 hours. And something like Final Fantasy 16, you're looking at 40 to 60 hours. Even more if you want 100% it. Games like Final Fantasy 9, older titles, with which I'm planning on playing through with my good friend Chase for a conversation on Bash Bros podcast this year. Stuff like that is just longer, and those are longer games. So you kind of have to sit there and be like, I'm going to invest time. But just like a friend of the channel, a good friend of the channel, Dean, Nurse Dean, he has been playing through games, but I noticed something. He invests in playing one game and he finishes it, and then he's on to the next. Just imagine how many games you would finish if you just worked on one at a time. I know that just in last month alone, December, I'm not gonna, I did finish Tears of the Kingdom before the end of the year. So I finished in December alone, since I ditched social media on my phone and I decided to focus. I first finished, I finished Super Mario Wonder. I finished Tears of the Kingdom. I finished, I think those are the 2 ones on the Nintendo Switch, and I know I finished one on PlayStation. I just can't remember what I finished on PlayStation, but I rolled credits on something else on PlayStation, and Xbox I didn't. And so it was just this feeling of like, oh, this feels good, and the feeling of rolling credits on a game, I can't even tell you. It feels so good, especially when you've invested time in those games, right? Like, you want to roll credits, you want to experience the end, you want to be able to say, yes, I know what happens, I finished the story. And then, like Tears of the Kingdom, you can go back and you can play that game for hours and hours on end to try to 100% it. But just finishing the story was so powerful. And I do, again, plan on doing a review about it. As I enter into this space, and as I entered into this space, I felt so recharged. And entering into this year, I feel so excited to play more video games. PlayStation looks like they're going to have a good year. Xbox, we don't really know exactly what's going to happen, but they look like they're going to have a good year. I believe strongly that this is going to be Nintendo's year, only because, and see, this is where it gets a little weird. I believe it's going to be Nintendo's year because hopefully, and based on rumors and whatever, which I will look into, I'll try to collect as much as I can to distill it. But based on what we're expecting, it looks like we're going to be getting new hardware this year, which is very exciting. That, for me, makes the year Nintendo's across the board. Sure, they're not going to be releasing a lot of games. We got Thousand Year Door coming out, a remake of, I think, Luigi Mansion 2, was it? And then we're getting, different stuff to N64 Online. Those kind of things are happening, sure. They're not huge games. Like, of course, PlayStation's dropping Final Fantasy VII, I keep saying Reunion, but it's Rebirth, as well as some other big heavy-hitting titles, like the Ronin, I forgot that, something Ronin game. It just looks good, looks like great stuff. And Xbox, we'll see. Again, I'm not super familiar with their trajectory. But all that to say, I believe this will be Nintendo's year, which is so exciting. And I hope to be primed and ready to cover as much Nintendo stuff as possible, seeing as how the very reason why my excitement is so high right now was because of my very intimate experience with my Switch, playing Tears of the Kingdom, sitting in handheld mode on the couch. My kid was sleeping, my wife was reading a book, everything was just serene, no responsibilities, I was on vacation. No other console has given me that feeling. And yes, it does have to do with portability, but there's just something so special about being able to have that experience that way. And I can't explain it more than Nintendo just does it right. And I am a huge fan of Nintendo. And so there has always been a little bit of a heavy hand in that direction. I do plan on covering and talking more and more about other stuff, but as my channel and the repositioning and the, not rebrand, but the redirection of everything, JD Coffee, right? You see the channel name is JD Coffee, right? JDX Coffee for everything. If you want gamer tags, if you want Nintendo ID, if you want any of that stuff, you can find me Instagram, social, every single thing that you want to look up. It's JDX Coffee, right? That is what you'll see. And that's because my name is JD and I drink a lot of coffee. And so Caffeine and Consoles is the podcast name, which will eventually be, this year coming out. And that's pretty much as simple as that. G is Julian, right? And then D is Danger. It's my middle name. And so moving forward, I know that my excitement for everything stems from my deep-rooted love and just nostalgic and such a special memory. So many special memories with Nintendo. So I will have a lot more of that kind of conversation around Nintendo. I have games in here which I've never finished. I want to get through them. And streaming will happen more and more. Still trying to figure out where I want to do that. We've talked so many times about it. But just know that when I entered this room, a year old or 35, I entered into a space that I felt was more magical than had ever been before. And I cannot wait to drink more coffee with you guys. I cannot wait to experience more gaming with you guys. I cannot wait to talk more about gaming with you guys, to play through more games with you guys. I cannot wait for all these things to happen here in 2024. I am ready. I hope you're ready too. This next season, this year is going to be so great. So great. And I'm just amped up. I've talked about the new year a couple times now, but I am overjoyed and just, I cannot express it. I'm so excited. I'm just so excited. This coffee is great. Not my favorite. My favorite so far is the delicious Honduras I got from my favorite coffee shop, Referral Coffee Roasters, for Christmas, and I drank that. But this is pretty good too. This is my second cup, and once I'm done recording this, I'm actually going to get in the car and drive and go get more coffee with my family. So I'm going to not finish this. I'm going to hand this over to my wife to finish so that she can have a little bit of coffee this morning. If you're excited with me, just join me. Let's get pumped on this together. Please hop in the Discord. I will warn you ahead of time, because of everything, we are going to be touching a little bit more. I'm not going to use the word exclusively because I don't think that's fair, but you're going to feel a heavy Nintendo bias. I cannot express how special being a gamer on that. I'm looking at my Switch right now and all I want to do is just play it and sit. My kid has one. My wife has one. Like, I can't even express to you how special it is. Oh, this vacation changed me. This coffee's great. All right, guys. That's all for today. I might stream sometime today. Who knows? If you're in Discord, you will know. So, that's all for today. As always,